'Cause we could be immortals, immortals, just not alone.
Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Tech Savage. I'm your host, Dwayne, and basically this video is going to be an introduction video. This is basically going to be introducing you to me, my channel, and basically what we're going to be doing here, and basically what the channel is all about. So first off, my name is Dwayne Smith. I was actually born in 1978, hence the TechSavage78. Yes, I'm pretty old. I'm pretty much hitting that 40 range, but hopefully you guys won't judge me, you know. I am a service technician for a copier company known as Ricoh. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. I mean, they make a lot of products. They make copiers, they make document solutions, they make cameras actually, camera lenses, optics. I mean, they're a pretty wide range company based out of Japan. And I've basically been a tech for them here in the Omaha, Nebraska area for about 9 months as of the recording of this video. So before that, I was basically doing a lot of copier tech work. I've basically been in the copier technician business for roughly 15 years. So I am an ITT graduate. I graduated with associates in electronic engineering, and I also have been building PCs since 1999, actually. My first PC was actually a Celeron 550 megahertz, if I remember correctly, which is so sad. I mean, technology has gone so far since then. But other than that, I mean, ever since then, I've just been basically continually building PCs for myself. I have my rig down here, which is basically my main rig as it stands right now. It's been with me for a number of years. It is built on the AMD FX technology, the 990A chipset, but which I know is kind of archaic at this time, and I do understand it's a rather old architecture, and it's something that definitely has been kicked to the side, if you will, as far as performance in general, especially in gaming. But I'll tell you one thing, I mean, I am very proud of this system. I mean, it's something I've pretty much built from the ground up, and it's been kind of my learning test bed as far as all the techniques and things that I've learned as far as PC building, overclocking, different thermal and cooling options. Actually, this rig in particular is being water cooled right now. It was something that I shied away from for years. I remember when it was kind of a thing starting out, and there wasn't a lot of support in the community for water cooling. It was basically something that was totally custom, using, you know, pumps from fish tanks, if you will, and all types of stuff like that. So just to see it grow to this level has been kind of amazing, and now I'm kind of getting into it a little late, I do admit, but I have to say it is kind of a nice setup. It does keep things ultra cool, pretty much quiet for the most part. I mean, it all depends on how many fans you're rocking in your system. I mean, this one personally, I think is up to 6 fans. We'll go with 6 fans right now. That's including the fan on the power supply, which really is a negating factor because it doesn't really spin that high of RPM, and for the most part doesn't make a whole lot of noise. But the other 5 fans do. I mean, they do make a nice, I guess, turbojet engine kind of fan noise, but I personally like it. I mean, it's not anything that's overbearing, and plus, I mean, I do play a lot of my games on this TV monitor that you see behind me, which is about 65 inch, plus I have surround sound in this room, so I mean, it does get overpowered by just my overall AV setup in this room, so it's not like I really hear it a lot. I mean, I'm actually recording in the same room with it. I mean, I don't know if you can hear it on your end, but I don't think it's probably that audible. I'll probably check back when I do my edits. But I'm pretty sure you can't really hear it. I mean, you probably hear my air conditioning running more than you probably would hear the PC. So with that note, I mean, basically this channel is kind of a startup for me. It's basically something that, you know, PCs have always been my passion ever since I was small. I mean, I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. I think my first PC at the time was like a Commodore 64, and then after that was a Tandy. If anybody is old enough to remember Tandys, they were actually a brand that was manufactured by Radio Shack. Try to stay up on the latest technologies. You know, I got really excited about Zen because I wouldn't say I'm an AMD fan because like I explained to you before, my first build was a Celeron, and then I went from Celeron to Pentium 4 to the slotted Pentium 4, because I don't know if you remember that slot. I think it was it 1 or 7? I have to do my research again, but I mean, it was crazy. I mean, that was like in the Pentium 3 days. If I want to remember correctly, they had the slot CPUs, and they were actually pretty nice. I mean, it was an interesting setup. It definitely made installation pretty easy because it was basically a self-contained unit with a fan on it already. It basically looked like the graphics cards of the day. It was really interesting that that was what the processor was mounted to, and then you just basically slid it into a slot, a CPU slot. So that was actually pretty cool, but it was one of those things that didn't really get off very far. I mean, I don't think they made it for any other iterations except for the Pentium 3, and then they just moved on to just using, your standard basic PC CPU sockets. But I'm starting to ramble here about all this building stuff or whatever. Like I said, basically I'm just introducing you to this channel, to me, and hopefully you like both. I mean, I think I'm a pretty cool guy for the most part, And on top of that, I think this could be some pretty interesting content for most. I mean, especially being that there are so many tech tubers out there. I would love to be able to collaborate with some of them, and maybe if the channel, gets bigger, maybe, these guys can reach out to me, or maybe I'll be able to reach out to them, and we can share information, which is basically the great thing about YouTube, the internet, and just, this day and age in general, the fact that we can share information and knowledge so easily amongst, people of different, backgrounds and ethnicities and even, geographic locations. And it just brings us all closer together, and that's really a great thing. So hopefully when this channel jumps off, and hopefully it does, I'm really hoping that it does. I mean, it could just fall flat on its face. I don't know, but it's worth a shot, and I'm putting myself out there to you guys and to anybody that views this video, and basically just hoping that this is something that you would be interested in watching, or at least maybe I'm an interesting enough person for you to want to keep watching. So it's something that, we could definitely grow with together and see where this whole thing goes. We'll go back to my rig at this point. Just because I am a PC builder, I will explain a little bit about my rig in general. There might be some B-roll going for that. And basically my rig, my setup is, like I mentioned before, it is a AMD FX 8350, basically overclocked to 4.85 gigahertz. Across all 8 cores. Yes, I know they're not true cores. It's really a 4-core, 8-module chip. But hey, let's not get self-righteous about the whole thing, all right? Just kidding. And it's something that I do know, but at the same time, it doesn't have as great of single-core performance as the Intel variants, especially in this day and age with Skylake and Kaby Lake. But at the same time, it does have a place. And it has a place with me. It is a PC that's very sentimental to me because it's been with me through many years and many different iterations. I mean, when I first built this thing, and I'm one of those type of people that basically doesn't cheap out when it comes to motherboards. I might cheap out on the CPU. I might cheap out on graphics. I might even cheap out on memory. But as far as the motherboards go, I mean, that is the backbone of your system, and you definitely want to go at least as high as you can go with that, because with that gives you headroom, When I first built this thing, it has a Asus Sabertooth, I think it's a 990 FX, and it's a great motherboard. I mean, it's got, 8+1 power phase. I mean, it's great for overclocking, gives you a lot of overclocking options and a lot of overclocking stability. But at the same time, when I initially got the motherboard, because like I said, I like to go higher with the motherboards, I paired this with an Athlon X2, if you can believe it. And then I went from the X2 to a Phenom 2 X4 960T. And then from there, I was basically like, I was on the brink of basically going to like maybe doing an Intel build. But I'm like, you know what? I really want to max out this motherboard and see what its max potential is. So basically right now, as I explained before, it has an FX 8350 overclocked to 4.8 gigahertz. It also has 32 gigs of G.Skill Ripjaws memory. On top of that, it does have an RX 480 in it. I actually grabbed the RX 480 a few months after it was released, and was really excited about the graphics card because it was one of those nice sweet spot cards. It wasn't anything that was super outrageously expensive. It's still considered a mid-tier graphics card, but at the same time, it still gives you solid performance, especially in 1080p, especially being that I'm using an actual television as a monitor, and this thing pretty much is locked out at 1080. I mean, it's not a 4K display; it's only a 1080 display. So basically, being that I'm already in that 1080, 60 hertz realm, if you will, it just seems like a perfect build for this particular display setup. Maybe if I was running, you know, some G-Sync or FreeSync monitors, IPS displays, something in like maybe the 1440p or possibly 4K display, then yeah, maybe I would have looked into maybe a higher end graphics card. But for this particular setup and how I am displaying my content, it is perfect. I think it's the perfect build for this setup in general, you know, because in 1080p, I mean, this graphics card does perform rather well. Depending on, you know, tweaking a couple settings, I mean, you can get solid 60 frames per second out of this thing, medium to high settings, and certain games are actually at ultra settings and it gets that 60 frames per second. I mean, some of them are a lot older titles. I mean, I played GTA 5 in this thing. I played Watch Dogs 2. Mostly into like RPG, especially racing. I mean, I play Forza on this thing. I got Forza 6 Apex. Great game. I mean, it looks really great. The graphics are amazing. And like I said, at ultra settings, still getting 60 plus FPS, even in heavy traffic. I mean, it's just a solid performer. I mean, like I said, is it anything that's earth-shatteringly great? No, I'm not. Am I getting like these insane 100 and 150 and 200 frames per second? No. But at the same time, I am getting playable frame rates, and it is an enjoyable gaming experience, and I don't knock it. I mean, maybe as the channel grows, maybe I might do a more higher end rig for you guys at least, so you guys can see that and maybe do some benchmarking of that. But for right now, this is my rig, and I am proud of it. I mean, it's like I said, it's mine. It's totally custom to me, and it's basically has a special place in my heart and my home. I mean, it's a conversation piece. I mean, when people come over here and they say like, wow, man, that thing is really gorgeous. I mean, they like the RGB lighting. They like, you know, the water cooling, how the pipes are, you know, it's soft tube. Yeah, I went kind of cheap on it. Not as much cheap. I guess didn't want to put in that much work in a bending tube and whatnot. But like I said, maybe for the next build, I might do a rigid tube setup, you know. Shout out to Jay's 2 cents out there. He was the one that kind of, you know, just gave me that little push I needed when I was watching his videos, and how he's such a strong advocate for water cooling your PC. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot, you know. And I got a water cooling kit from XSPC, which came around like $120. It's their Raystorm kit. Basically, it comes with the Raystorm CPU cooler, which is actually a great cooler. I actually upgraded to the platinum or premium edition one, which is basically a full copper body. It actually really is nice. I mean, it's got some decent weight to it. You can tell it's like a solid copper a build quality there, and it mounted up perfectly. I mean, it keeps the CPU rather cool, along with the, you know, the water flow that's going through it, and how the fin design is inside of the actual CPU block. It's just a really nice block. And then it also got coupled with a 420 bay res, which basically is a bay reservoir pump combination. So granted, it doesn't hold a lot of fluid, but it does look aesthetically pleasing from the front of the PC. You know, it has a little window to show the fluid, and I'm actually running Mayhem's fluid. It's their UV red fluid. Once again, thanks to Jay's 2 cents, I have become kind of a fellow advocate for Mayhem's fluid. They make phenomenal fluid. I actually tried the fluid from XSPC that I ordered with the kit that I put in there, and after a few months, I mean, it started to get dark and murky, and it was just a bad time. I mean, it just started looking like complete and utter crap after the first couple months of running it with that fluid. And that's when, you know, once again went to the Jay's 2 cents channel, and you know, I've seen how he just is a great how can I put it? He's a great spokesperson for the Mayhem's product, and he definitely recommends it in a lot. He uses it in a lot of his applications, pretty much all of his applications. I've always seen him using either Mayhem's, you know, premix, or mainly concentrate. He's a big fan of the concentrated fluid and mixing it himself, which I might get into it. But I figured, being that I'm not really going to be using a lot of fluid in this particular rig because it does have that small bay res. There was no real need to buy a concentrate because I'll basically be making a lot more fluid than I would ever need. So I basically just got a pre-mixed 1 liter bottle. And I keep it on the shelf whenever I gotta top it off or refill it, which actually has been running pretty solid. I haven't had to top it off since I got done with the whole bleeding procedure and getting all the air out, and just keep refilling. And I mean, it starts up really quiet. You don't hear any pump gurgle or anything like that. In fact, once again, like I said, it's running in the background. You don't hear any of that, you know, the pump whine or anything like that. I mean, it's been running really, really solid. I'm really proud of it. And I do like the fluid, the fact it's UV reactive, so it does kind of react really nice. Of course, I had to change to the purple lighting for the RGB. That kind of gave it the best reaction, but it does react well with the LEDs in the rig itself, and gives it that nice illumination and a nice look and feel. Not so much feel. Who feels fluid? Anyway, so it does give it a nice look. And like I said before, am just very proud of the rig itself. Like I said, I might do something later on down the line, definitely showcasing maybe a more higher end build as this channel grows, and basically I get a lot more budget to work with. Or maybe I get some sponsors. Hey, what's up, NVIDIA? Just kidding. And we'll just see what happens from there. So, and on top of it, like I said, I will be doing actual build logs on this channel. I actually got a build that I'm doing for a friend, a coworker, and she wanted to be able to play The Sims because apparently she is a big fan of The Sims. In fact, she sent me the all the Sims discs, which I thought was kind of weird because, you know, basically gaming nowadays, I mean, nobody uses discs. I personally get all my games from Steam, you know, direct download straight to the PC. But yeah, she actually has all the physical discs and expansion discs. It basically totaled up to about like 20 CDs. It was crazy when I got the box. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe like 4 or 5 CDs, you know, like, you know, the main game and maybe like 3 or 4 expansions. Oh no, I had no idea The Sims had grown to this level. It's crazy. I mean, I know it's also available on Steam, if I remember correctly. I think it is. See, The Sims is actually on Steam. And I never actually really looked into it and seen how many expansions they've had since the release of that game. And apparently they went nuts. So I'm really looking forward to the build. Basically, the build is going to be going off of the specs of for the game itself. So I did go with an Intel setup for this because basically, according to the documentation with the games, everything states, you know, Pentium 4. Well, at the time it was made, probably Pentium 4 was one of the only CPU you can get from Intel at the time. I also have Celeron. And, you know, everything is like, you know, Pentium 4, basically Intel graphics and this, that. Everything is basically Intel based is basically where I'm going with this. And so being that, with that being said, I basically made this build, Intel build, just because it seemed like the direct correlation of what the game recommendations and requirements needed. So that's why I went with. But I didn't go super high end. Once again, like I said, Elaine's my friend, and I didn't want to hit her with this huge like $1,500 build, which, by the way, my build, when I totaled everything up at current prices for all these parts, mind you, I did actually look up each individual part and look up their current pricing as of the moment, and this thing settles in at around $1,400 total. I mean, granted, that wasn't a lump sum that I paid. I mean, this thing has been incremental at best, so, you know, part here, part there, upgrade this, upgrade that. But yeah, with everything in this PC as it stands so far, it is a $1,400 rig. I was actually kind of shocked and surprised. But at the same time, you know, like I said, a lot of people be like, well, it's a crap rig for $1,400. It's not really. I mean, it's really not that bad. I mean, it's very good. I'm actually going to use it to edit this video and basically provide this content to you guys using this PC. Will it be the fastest and best experience? Probably not. But at the same time, it does get the job done. And it does it in a very decent amount of time. I mean, it's not super slow either, especially with the overclock. So, I mean, it's a mini beast rig in itself, and hopefully it gets the job done for this channel because, like I said, it's something that I am very passionate about. PCs are my passion. It's been my passion for years, and it's something that I definitely want to share with you guys if you're willing to accept me and accept this channel. So that's basically all I have to say in this. Is just, you know, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the insanity that is my mind, my heart, my passion. and hopefully it's something that you guys enjoy and will tune in to see at least once a week. I'm going to try to do videos at least once a week. Like I said, once again, I have a very hectic work schedule. It's not something that this is not something I can fully devote my time to, but I'll definitely devote the majority of what I can. Like I said, pretty much that build is going to take up a lot of time, so I know basically the first couple videos are going to be featuring that. And I think it's going to be a pretty sweet build. Like I said, it's going to be Intel based. I'm actually using the Pentium dual core processor, the Q44, or what is it, 4400? Yes, I think it's the Q4400 if I remember correctly. And I think it's going to be sweet. It's going to have 16 gigs of RAM. It's going to have a 250 gig solid state drive for the OS. It's going to have a 3 terabyte hard drive for data storage and programs, basically for The Sims, because I don't know, all those disks, I'm really curious to see how much that's going to eat up. I mean, it's got to be pretty substantial. I mean, I don't know. That might take up a terabyte on its own. We'll see. But going back, this is the channel in all of its glory right now. And like I said, hopefully you guys like it. You like the content. You like the aesthetic. You like things about the channel. You maybe like me personally. Hopefully I'm entertaining to you guys, and hopefully it's something that you would probably want to view more of, or at least subscribe to and become part of my viewership. At least that's what I'm hoping anyways. Like I said, once again, this could fall flat on its face, but I'm really hoping it doesn't, and I'm really hoping it's something that you will like. Like I said, we are kind of starting off small here. I'm actually recording this on my Moto Droid Z, which actually has a really decent camera. I believe I'm recording in 1080 right now. I'm not too sure. I will admit that. I didn't really check the settings, just kind of hit record. But I'm pretty sure it at least defaults to 1080. So hopefully the video quality comes out nice. I am recording the audio separately using a digital audio recorder, a Zoom H1. So hopefully that at least translates to at least decent audio, or more accurate audio versus the actual cell phone microphone, which actually really isn't that bad. But I want to at least get that as pure as possible. And then, like I said, as the channel grows, that'll be something that'll grow along with it. Maybe I might invest into a better, point and shoot, or possibly a DSLR, even though they are very extremely high priced. But it is something I would want to buy just in general, because I know they are really solid cameras all the way around. They're very durable, and they last for years, and they take phenomenal videos and photo. So I mean, it wouldn't be just an investment for a channel, it would be just an investment in general. But we will see how things go, and we will see what the progress is with that, if there is any. I'm hoping there is. Like I said, it's something that been looking to buy before I even thought about doing a YouTube channel, was a DSLR, just to have as a nice point and shoot. I do take a lot of trips around the US, so for training and stuff like that, and for work, and just for personal use in general. Sounds weird. I guess for pleasure. Let's put it that way, for pleasure in general. So when I go to these places, and actually something I forgot to mention is I actually live in Omaha, Nebraska currently, but I only moved here in 2015. Before that, I was basically born and raised in the Chicagoland area. So, shout out to all, my people in Chicago holding it down, and doing their thing out there. So I'm doing my thing out here. So, I do go back there quite often. My family's out there and stuff like that. So I do go out to try to see them. I have a lot of friends out there that, I like to visit and see and hang out with, and kind of touch base with, and get caught up, and just keep that interaction going. But yeah, like I said, once again, getting sidetracked with my own personal business, even though this was an introduction to me as well. So it's not everything all bad. Like it's something that, if I do kind of go on about myself, at least, like I said, you're getting to know me and know that, I am a real person, just basically trying to put out some solid content for you guys. And hopefully, like I said, it's something that you like. So in closing, just want to say, welcome to my channel. Please, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, or leave a comment below. Actually read the description. I might throw some little extras in there, just let you know. I definitely would put a full spec sheet of my build down there, and I might also put down the specs for the build I'm doing for, or what I like to call my Sims build. And I'll put the specs down there for that as well if it's something that you're interested in knowing, and what parts I used and what have you. Yeah, so like I said, leave your comments below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. If you dislike it or hate everything about life, oh God, I just stole that. Sorry, didn't mean to steal that, but I mean, like I said, if you dislike the video, please hit the thumbs down. And like I said, subscribe if you like, leave a comment, whatever, it's all up to you. And like I said, definitely we'll catch you in the next video, which will more than likely be the start of the build log for Xavier. And hopefully that'll be a little fun experience for everybody. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.